Thank you. Greetings and welcome. Thanks for our audience who are both here live and those of you who are watching us by YouTube while it's being mainstreamed out to the district. We want to thank the participants for attending our forums here. We have 3 finalists you'll be hearing today, and they will be interviewed by the Board of Trustees and find hopefully your next chancellor. I am Benjamin Duran, and I will be your forum facilitator today. I am part of the PPL consulting team with my colleague, Dr. Jim Riggs, that has supported the search and selection process that began in the spring. A brief biography of each of the candidates has been part of the announcement of the forums. One may also access those bios on the district website homepage by clicking on Chancellor Search Finalists. Each of today's forums will be 45 minutes in length. We will begin with the finalists responding to 2 introductory questions, which should take no longer than 7 or 10 minutes to answer. We will then follow with questions I will ask developed from questions submitted by the district employees and members of the college community that you serve. To conclude, the candidates will spend the final 3 or 4 minutes or so making a closing statement. You will recognize some of your questions that we've been able to merge into them. So thematically, we got a number of questions under different themes. So hopefully we'll be able to cover what folks were asking for. With that, let's begin our forum with Dr. Bandyopadhyay. Dr. Bandyopadhyay, we thank you for your diligence and commitment of the time to be considered at this finalist stage in the selection process. I will launch our forum with 2 introductory questions. Please take no more than 7 or 10 minutes to answer them, and then in the order in which they're answered, and then we'll go on and ask you other questions. Sure. So my first question to you is, given the qualifications and characteristics we seek in our next chancellor, as well as the current institutional settings or strengths and challenges we face, would you please briefly describe your background and how that suggests propensity for success in this critical leadership position?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Duran. Thank you, all of you who are here, and also those of you who are out in the cyber world, as we call the room and Zoom nowadays. As you heard, my name is Shantanu Phadke. When I say it, it does not sound that difficult. And this last name is as common as a John Doe in my part of the world. I came to this country, I'm a first-generation immigrant. I came to this country almost to the T, 24 years. It's going to be next week when I celebrate my 24th anniversary in this country. That was 6th of June, I started my journey. And if I recap that last 24 years, I came here to go to the college. I went to MBA school, business school at Ohio University, Southeastern Ohio. Coming from Bombay to Southeastern Ohio, 12 million people city to 25,000 people city. Kind of a culture change, I would say, a culture shock. Completed my MBA. I started working at Ohio University as a budget and policy analyst. There the budget was about $500 million at that point of time. Was in that role for some time. Moved on to Zane State College, and that was my first foray into a rural community college setting. Appalachian, Ohio, 2,000 students, twice the national average of graduation rate. That was an anomaly. And we were selected to be one of the Achieving the Dream colleges also. We were the second cohort of Achieving the Dream colleges. And I know that your district is also a part of the Achieving the Dream cohort now, but now it's more than 1,000 people in the conferences, maybe a couple of thousand. That time, we were less than 50. I came to California as a director of institutional research and planning for Cypress College, Southern California. Was in that role for about 4 years, went on to become their executive vice president in charge of both instruction and student services. Was there for about 5 years, and then my first foray into Central Valley was the president of Columbia College of Yosemite Community College District. That was 2018. Was there for a brief while. I was the president of both colleges, Columbia College and Modesta Junior College, for one pay, for a brief period, for about a couple of months, when accreditation said colleges will have to have a unique president. So I was president of MJC for about a couple of years. My last assignment was with Woodland Community College as their interim president. So that's a brief history of 24 years. Now, what about Colinga? What about West Hills, Lemoore, and what attracts me here? In course of my tenure in MJC, and when I was looking at the Valley students, couple of things that dawned on me. One, students are located here. Opportunities are not. Opportunities are worldwide. As you say right there, once you go here, you can go anywhere. But it's sometimes necessary for educational institutions to bring the opportunities into the students' realm. And for that, we need to participate in the local government, local business and industry. We did that at Modesto, at Stanislaus 2030. I was one of the 30 think tank members of STAN 2030, who is now bringing biodiversity, biomedical manufacturing products into the Valley. Unique about that, Valley has agriculture. Agriculture has ag wasts, like almond hulls and things like that. Rather than treating that as a waste, once we convert that into a finished product, which is biodegradable, which is high in demand, that creates well-paying jobs. And the students are prepared to take those kind of jobs. MJC is already seeing those kind of programs being developed. Those collaborations are bringing millions of dollars of investment in the Valley, as well as recognition from federal and state government. Having done that, I would bring that perspective here so we can collaborate with the business, industry, government, and education to create opportunities for our students in the Valley. Second, post-COVID, we see that it's not enough to say we have a world-class college and world-class education. We are more individualistic here in the days of social media. We all want to know what's in it for me. And that brings us that we need to have more of a micro approach to the students, rather than saying all classes start at the beginning of fall and beginning of spring. What happens if my life does not adjust to that? We have to have more of a granular approach to the students' expectations and needs and meet those needs where the students are. We did that in MJC in 21-22, in the middle of COVID, with adaptive scheduling. Result of that, MJC was probably the only college in the state which increased enrollment in spring of 2022, in the middle of COVID. We increased enrollment by 8%, followed by a 4% increase also. That did not happen without this kind of a specific focus on the students. Third and most important, as our environment changes, all of you, our students, us, our managers, our classified employees, everybody needs to be retrained. I've been very active in the professional development field in the state as part of Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative. I believe in professional development and education for all of us so that we can invest in our students appropriately. So to sum it up, what brings me to the Valley is my expertise and experience in collaborating with government, industry, and the students to create opportunities, bring opportunities from outside to here, get education to the granular level for the students, and investing in professional development for us to flourish as the best college, best district here in the Central Valley. Thanks.
Thank you. And after your first 6 months in the position, what criteria would you use to evaluate your effectiveness as our new chancellor?
Absolutely. And I would go back to the drawing board on those 3 areas that I mentioned. Evaluate me on how are we collaborating with the government, industry, to bring more jobs, to bring more focus and more collaboration into the Valley. So when we are talking about places like Farm of Future, are we getting industry collaborations out there? Are we talking about using ag waste just as a cow feed, or we are trying to create something out of that? Are we talking about new courses, new opportunities for our students? Are we preparing our students to go outside and they're talking the industry language? In MJC, what we saw was we had partnerships with Gallo Wines, with Frito-Lay's, with Amazon, with Blue Diamond Almonds, you name it. That's one area that I would like you to hold me accountable to and responsible for. Second area that I would say is ask me about, yes, you talked about professional development. What's happening on that? Because the world around us is changing. And all of us do not have the opportunity of going back to school to retool ourselves. But we need to retool ourselves. And that's an investment in all of you, that you will be able to see what we take the policies and decisions in the district in collaboration with the board, so that you can be invested in the district, you can see a career path and develop yourself to serve our students. And the third part, Yes, enrollments. How do we bring the students back here? What are we doing to attract them? How do we make those granular approach to the students? So the three criteria that I mentioned, evaluate me on that after 6 months. Hope we'll have another forum at that time and we can talk to each other and see how we're doing.
Thank you. And let me follow up on your response.
Let me grab a bottle of water, Dr. Duran.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So let me just follow up on some of the comments that you made. West Hills is located in a region of California that is unique. Please tell us how you feel you can, as Chancellor, market what the district has to offer agribusiness, industry, and other employers in the area and develop mutually beneficial relationships.
Absolutely. And this is not the first time that I would be doing this. As I mentioned, whether it was Columbia or it was MJC, we were doing that for the local industries. When in MJC, I was a college president out there, I used to go to this manufacturing council meetings, which gets all of the industries together. The common demand, common expectation that I heard from them, and this manufacturing council had representatives from places like Gallo Wines, Frito-Lay's, Blue Diamond, Subaru Motors, all of them. One common expectation. Can we have advanced electricians, advanced machinists who wear a white shirt and a tie, shows up on Monday morning at 8 o'clock for work? On the student side, if you look at the Valley, how were students paying their bills here? Valley is a place which we all know is agro-based. When somebody is working in the agricultural field, what is required? Your physical abilities. Now, when somebody makes money by using their physical abilities, that is the entry-level position. We need to get above that by saying that can they acquire some skills? Can we impart some skills to our students so they can encash and that skill, they can pay their bills and they can get more meaningful jobs by using those skills. So retooling of our students need to happen from that realm. And when that is happening, we have to look at whole environment as such, not just the high school graduates, but those who are in the mid-career, those who are trapped in a job which does not have much of a future. They're anything between 30 to 50 years of age. They have to work for quite a few years and they need to be trained. How do we go about doing that? That's where the partnership with the government and industry becomes so important. We fostered the partnership with Frito-Lay, where our combination was we would be taking college to the students who are working at Frito-Lay at their location. Any industry has internet connections. Almost all of them can spare a room. So my demand to them was, can you dedicate one room where our college would be teaching your students at your location? Because when we talk about students coming to our college, we can say, yeah, it's one course, 2 hours. You know what? If you're working in a job, you leave your job, you get into your car, drive to our college, attend the 2-hour class, go back. Half a day is gone easily. Cannot afford to do that. If the college goes to you, that's economic for us, that's economic for the students. But we cannot take this model just by working alone in the vacuum. We have to be doing it in collaboration with the industries and businesses. Government partnership, that's another area. Our local council members, our local representatives, congressmen, they play a key role in supporting us. When we were there, from Josh Harder's office, he was the congressman in the area at that time, we walked up to them, his office, and said that, we have the fire training academy out here. We don't have props. One of those vehicles cost $250,000. Can we get some congressional apportionment to afford those props? We secured $2 million from the congressman's office from an apportionment which is not related to our enrollment or any of those kind of areas. So that's something that we have to have a win-win relationship. What's of interest to the community? What's of interest to us? How we are going to advance our student interests. And that's the only way we can advance the interest of all of us together. Not by saying what's good for us or just catering to what do you need, but find out that common ground where it's a win-win formula for all. Done this before, would love to do it in collaboration with all of you.
Along those lines and what you're talking about there, a question came from the field and they were interested in knowing what your experience was with contract education and then working with the community partners to maybe get some of those contract education students intercredit programs so that they might have a different pathway. Any thoughts around that?
Of course. Now, this is something that we started, and also that was another modest experiment that we did. It was a little bit different from contract education per se. We did this in collaboration with Lemelson Foundation of MIT. What they talk about is invention education. Their whole theory is students learn better when they're working with their hands, when they're doing something practically. And we all have attended these 2-hour, 3-hour-long meetings, and we know how frequently we kind of doze off or take out our phones or go out for a walk and things like that. Same happens to the students as well. But when the students are put in a place where they can go and experiment with something, they can put their ideas into action, it is a better learning for them. So we created this institute in collaboration with Academic Senate at MJC called ACCT, Applied Creativity and Community Transformation, where students, under the guidance of a faculty member, would go out to the community, identify a project, solve that project, solve the existing problem, and get credits for their courses. By doing so, the students are working with the businesses in our area. It's almost like an apprenticeship partnership with the businesses. And we did this because when we talk about apprenticeships, typically what numbers we talk about? 100 students? 200 students? MJC was a 20,000 student school. If we have 100 very successful students, it does not really cut that entire level of students, student body. ACCT ramped it up from 100 students in 1 year to 1,500 students in second year. But those many students were going out and working. As a fallout of that, now we are seeing the businesses and industries are coming out and saying that, yes, we have these opportunities with us, how we can foster the partnerships. So that I look at it as a new way of fostering partnership where the contract education is helping our employers, our potential employers, right from the word get-go. They're not waiting for a long time or they're not just looking at the retraining, but they're using their common students. At the same time, we did have the contract education arm also. If you dissect the numbers of our enrollment gain in spring 2022, you would notice we big time jumped the numbers in the contract education part. The non-credit portion that jumped up, that really led to our enrollment gains. And those went into a variety of areas, right from the local high schools, where our senior students went as tutors, to local businesses where we placed our students. So it's a matter of identifying where the skill sets lie and where do we do the matchmaking. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, we're in a changing world. We need to change ourselves also and train ourselves through professional development that how we can fulfill that need of the community, both identify and create the pathway. So yeah, if I'm your chancellor, that's something that I will be very actively working on of how we connect with the business industry and put the students right in the middle so that they have an opportunity of working when they're in the classroom.
Thank you. Given recent reductions in enrollment at California community colleges due to the pandemic and the impact that it has had on the college budgets, what strategies would you employ to work with the colleges to rebuild enrollments while maintaining course schedules and student services, et cetera?
Absolutely. And that's an area that bothers or that really sort of keeps us awake at night. But at the same time, if you look at the entire California map, almost 7 million Californians, 6.8 million to be precise, who are in their mid-careers. By mid-careers, I mean they're not the typical traditional 18 to 24 college-age students. They're 30 to 50. They've already been working. They've been either laid off or they're working in a job where they're not seeing any potential future. How do we reach out to them? All of them cannot just stop everything and say, next 2 years, I do not need to do anything but come to college. That's not possible for them. So that's where it comes, how we have more of an adaptive schedule and take the college to the students in their terms. Key to that is, there are multiple approaches to that. One is, of course, using technology. Rather than expecting everybody to come here, how we distribute our knowledge dissemination patterns. That's one part. Other key component of that, apart from taking the college to them, is why is everybody starting to learn on 15th of January and 28th of August at the beginning of fall or spring? What happens if I am somewhere in the middle of a course, middle of the semester, and I need to learn something? What if I'm a fast learner, I'm taking just one course, I do not need to wait for 16 weeks to master those 3 units? How do we have those kind of adaptive scheduling where we are saying that the students who can, if I'm a person who can learn a course, master a course within 8 weeks, demonstrate the mastery and move on, we can capture a completely different segment of the population. That's something that we have to look at, how we make our scheduling, working with academic senate, working with the faculty members and the staff. How do we do that? How do we support the students who are coming in and here, going out in a much more quicker turnaround time, not spending that entire 16 weeks? Not to discount the fact, there are also going to be the students who need to be here for the full 16 weeks. So that is where our craft comes in, that we look at different segments of the student population and open up different market segments. Second part of that is more industry involvement. Like when you're telling a student, you come here and you would be just in the classroom and hopefully once you're done, you'd get some jobs. If we can show them the pathway, we have a number of partnerships with the businesses and industries where you have more like an apprenticeship. Sometimes you get paid. Sometimes you get paid in terms of cash, or sometimes if you're already working, you get a convenient working hours because colleges do not work in the graveyard shifts. Or in some cases, like say Subaru Motors, who say once you complete a course from a college, you get $4,000 worth of tools from us. That's an open offer from Subaru. I do not know how many of us are taking advantage of that in California. Another part of building up these enrollments is going to the unions, workers' unions in different places, and saying how we can partner with you to provide some opportunities for the students to learn and earn. So there are ways of doing it. And as I mentioned, that 21-22, that's the COVID time. 22 spring, our enrollment increased in Modesto. 22 fall, we increased. 23, I was in Woodland. We increased enrollment both in fall and spring. So if we have this, if we understand what the students are needing, and we offer our courses and programs and make it meaningful for the students, there are opportunities out there in the market. We just have to go away from that all education would not happen in that same old structure of 16 weeks plus 16 weeks and 60 units and so on and so forth. It is more of knowledge as we need and take it as we go, that kind of an approach for the students that can help. Now, this not only works in the classroom, we are on the guided pathways colleges. We know that we have to onboard the students in this process. We have to reorient our student services to be almost on an ongoing basis. What do we do for the financial aid? How can we process those better? How can we provide the services for the students better? And those who are working and taking classes from their home, if they don't have a place to study, how can they take advantage of our own infrastructure here, come at different hours, and use this as a resource so that they can retool themselves? Those are some of the ideas that are emerging, and I would love to explore all of that with all of you to see where we can take it to the students.
Thank you. Let's talk a bit about diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice.
Mm-hmm.
So please share your commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and how you plan to integrate these principles into all aspects of the district's operations.
Of course, and diversity is we talk about that all the time. When I was in Columbia College, there was no diversity committee. We formed a diversity committee and we redefined the structure of the diversity committee. When I came to MJC, we had to repeat that again. MJC, despite 100 years of existence, it started in 1921. I came there in 2021. They did not have a DEI committee. The way I look at that is if we have a standalone committee and say, hey, you are a committee, do some research, do some great stuff, and we bank on you, most likely that would not go somewhere else. If we really want this to be meaningful for our institutional fabric, we have to integrate our DEI perspective in our institutional fabric. What do I mean by that? When we structured the DEI committee both at Columbia and at MJC, we first had a discussion at College Council, which is the participatory governance body, with all of the folks. And we said we need 4 representatives each. That was in case of Modesto because it was a bigger campus. Columbia was 3 representatives each from faculty, classified staff, administrators, and students. So Columbia was 3 times 4, 12-member body. MJC was a 16-member body. And then there was a president-appointed person also, a president's appointee on that body. So it was 13 or 17, just an odd number so that they can do the voting and do not get into a deadlock situation. The charge of the DEI committee was formed by me in consultation with the college council. And the charge was very clear. Look at a variety of areas of how we can bring this diversity experience for our students. So in case of Columbia, which is racially very homogenic, it's almost like 93% Caucasian population out there. How do we bring different cultural perspective to our student body? In MJC, it was much easier, but we have to expose the students to different cultures. MJC was 54% Hispanic, and there are, of course, other races out there also. Now, we also started each of these committees with a budget allocation. So when you have something ideal, you are not going to be going around by saying, we have this idea, how do we implement it? Where is the money coming from? That's one of the biggest things that we do. We have a DEI committee without any budget, and they're all supposed to go to different areas and somehow put together a budget and do their activities. So by doing so, a committee which is from different parts of the campus, a committee which has a budget. So they are kind of authorized to make their decisions and implement those. Then we had on bi-weekly basis, this committee tri-chairs will come and meet with the president, that's me, to talk about how things are going, what kind of bottleneck they're feeling, what are the supports that they need. On a monthly basis, they had a permanent seat, the tri-chairs at the college council. They would come there and they would bring their recommendation to say, this is what they're deciding the college needs to do in order to enhance DEI. So by this way, we have integrated this DEI committee's activities and actions into the college budget, as well as into the college decision-making principles. Result, in Columbia, we changed one of the board policies to make financial aid accessible for incarcerated students. That allowed them to come and participate in the college courses. That came up from the discussion of the DEI committee. At MJC, we have the largest comic art festival in the Central Valley. That used to happen, but that used to happen by the committee members or some of the faculty members who were behind this force, going around and individually doing fundraising. DEI committee provided that the legitimacy, and we have established ourselves the largest comic art festival in the valley. We had the Pride conferences started at MJC, where students could go and express their gender identity in the way they feel. That did not happen in the first 100 years of the journey of MJC. So we created a platform, a voice, and a decision-making principle for DEI. And that's what I would look for. It is not a flavor of the month. It's not just one thing that we do one time, but how do we do it collaboratively all along and fund that as we feel that's necessary? That should be my approach to DEI. Personally, well, I have changed my country multiple times. Bombay to Southeastern Ohio to California, Southern California to Central Valley. It almost seems like I've changed my country and lived in different perspectives. We are living in a world where people have different perspectives. And our whole objective should be, rather than saying that, you don't think like me or you don't talk like me, I would not talk to you. Let's at least give each other a listening. And that's what we owe to all our students. How do we put them in that path? That we have the discussion first, before we decide whether we want to be your friend or we want to be acquaintances, or we just do not have to do anything with you. So that's how I would approach it.
Thank you. Let's talk a bit about envision and implementation of vision. West Hills Community College District campuses and facilities are closely associated with the communities they serve. Most of the individuals who live in these communities love and appreciate the colleges and their students. As Chancellor, what actions will you take to ensure an inclusive and mutually respectful relationship continues between community members and the staff and students at our colleges?
Absolutely. And we are a communities college. So we cannot just go to the community when we have a ballot measure and say, hey, can I have your vote? It doesn't work that way. We have to integrate and build the relationship. For that, if I'm your chancellor, they need to be able to see me at the ball games. They need to be able to see me at the grocery store, at the public events, in the community meetings. They need to see me not attired in a suit and tie, but more in shorts and tees, pumping gas, where they can relate to me as a friend, not as somebody who is miles out. When I was in MGC, I bought a home in Modesto, so I could live there. And unless we live in the community, we do not foster those kind of relationships. I also seek out specific platforms, like there are a variety of bodies which are there doing fun stuff in the community or serious stuff in the community. I intentionally go to those bodies, either as a member or ask somebody to put me on that body so I can go there. And typically, every semester, I want to have at least 2 events when I can go and talk about state of the college. Apart from having a state of the college annually or state of the district where we invite people, but we just want to go to them and tell them what's happening in education world. If you think about education, it is changing so rapidly, it's difficult for us to keep track. Think about it this way. Right now, what percentage of your classes are online? And 5 years back, what percentage of classes were online? What kind of technology challenges students are facing? How we are distributing education? How we are advancing towards free textbooks or online resources? All of those are coming up very rapidly, which for us is difficult to keep track. How would somebody whose business is not education know about all of those? Our job, my job, is to connect with them and tell them where the needs are coming. My job also is ask them, what do you want from the college? What's your expectation? What's happening? What's working and what's not working? More so, what's not working, to know that from them, and then have a dialogue going so we can fulfill the community's expectations and needs. At Modesto, I formed a President's Advisory Council, not from within the college, but this was more from outside the college. None of them were the college employees, and they're busy people. So we said we would meet with them once a semester, if time permits, twice a semester, as a formal meeting, where they all come and talk to me and say that what's working and what's not working. There are a variety of feedback that I get, which in a million years I could not have guessed if I sat in my office alone. I would like to replicate a similar structure here, that not only we go out to the community to get or I go out to the community to get the informal measure of the community and their perceptions, but also invite the community leaders to have a periodic meeting regularly with the district's think tank, for them to tell us in an honest, open, non-threatening manner what is working and what is not working. And we, on our turn, can also tell them what are we doing, what approaches we are taking to modernize our workforce, to foster our relationship with the industries. It has to be a two-way street. It has to be a dialogue. Only with this dialogue, we can really come closer and see what we are trying to accomplish.
Thank you. So regional educational collaboration is important to bring the highlights and highlighting and leveraging of programs and support leading to student success in the district. What is your experience in actively working with regional K-12 districts, universities, educational collaboratives to ensure that our students have a pathway from high school through us to onto universities that ultimately ends up in some sort of success?
Absolutely. One of the regional collaborations starts with you, Dr. Duran, as CVHEC. I have been an active member of CVHEC, Central Valley Higher Education Consortium, where all of the college presidents and chancellors, right from Stockton to Bakersfield, we are members. We go talk about the local decisions, local important issues. And the relevance of CVHEC is very high for us, because when you think about California's budget, we all know how it goes. It goes bust and boom. We know that the bust time would come very soon. And whenever those comes, who gets the biggest mind share of Sacramento? It's the Los Rios and the Los Angeles and the San Diegos, because they are the big districts. We individually cannot be representing ourselves. So that's where our collaboration comes into effect, that as CVHEC, we can go as a part of a body and say, Central Valley needs these things. I would go back to talk about a little bit on STAN 2030, what we did at Stanislaus County, and how that is working out now. If you go and Google STAN 2030, and you would see their investment blueprint, where it started from, and how much money they are getting right now from state as well as from private industries, to bring industries out there and to create jobs for the people, for the students who are going to be working in the industries of future. We did that, and we said that 3 institutions, MJC, UC Merced, and CSU Stanislaus, we 3 are the talent development partners. So we have to rework on our coursework so that our students are prepared to take those jobs when it comes to us. I think Chancellor Munoz is still on my cell phone list. We still maintain contacts. So work with them. High school partnership is a critical partnership. And as Chancellor Christian keeps on talking about, we should talk to the high schoolers right at the middle school level, not wait until they come to the high school, and sow the seeds that they need to come to the college sooner rather than later. When I was in Columbia was amongst the bottom quintile of high school students coming to Columbia College. Despite we being the only game in town, there was nobody around us, but students did not used to come to us. They would go somewhere else. Fast forward about 3 years, by 2020, 2021, Columbia was in the top quintile of their local high schools coming to the colleges. We accomplished that by fostering, again, it's the same time-tested method that if you know people, and not only just the superintendent and the president level, but the counselors to counselors, our faculty members to faculty members, that is where the true collaboration happens. So if I'm working with you as your chancellor, I would be working with our local partners in each of the high school districts, each of the middle school districts, and bring periodically our faculty members, our staff, our administrators together to find out a pathway of how we can support each other. Only by recognizing our needs, we can go ahead in that area. So far as CSUs are concerned, CSUs and UCs, UC Merced is the nearest UC, and we all know how much they have grown. Now, partnership building with them has to be in these new courses areas, that how we can build a win-win relationship. Their PhD students can come to us and teach sometimes. They can have the teaching partnerships. And our students can, in the future, go over there and transfer to the courses. So those pathway building, again, on my part, if I'm your chancellor, I would be contacting with all of those our partnerships that I've done before, so that our students have an opportunity of going out. Another area that we tried when I was in Woodland, we tried that. Chico, CSU Chico was quite far out. We invited them to have classes in our campus. So our students are having an opportunity of attending a 4-year degree course at our campus without going outside. That is a similar approach that I would like to take. If we can bring university courses out here or college courses out here on our campuses, where our students do not need to be leaving their homes to go to college, but can knock off some of those college courses, and they have an opportunity of testing what a college course is like. Those are different approaches that I would like to take in order to have a better relationship and building pathways for the students.
Thank you. We've got about 8 minutes to go, and so I want to ask you this question about students and student voice, and then I'll give you about 3 minutes to do a closing statement. So on this one, if you could take about 5 minutes or so, I'd appreciate it. So what are your thoughts around, it's a 2-part question because I'm going to combine the two. What are your thoughts around ensuring that student voices are heard in the district, right? So what has been your experience? What's been your approach? And then there's also a growing concern around mental health of students and mental health services and resources, et cetera. How does the district ensure that our students have the access to the resources that they need so they're related questions, but basically we're talking about our students.
Of course, yes. And one of my most proud accomplishments, if I can say, the degrees and certificates and PhDs and masters, those happen. But when I left MJC, the students passed 2 resolutions by saying they like me and they would like to see the next leader like me. That's probably the best testament that I could have. And those 2 certificates, if I have a small office somewhere and 2 spaces for certificates, I would hang them in my office. That's probably the students spoke to me. And that happened because student connection, and I love their energy. I love to contact with the student, apart from the fact that unless we talk to them, unless we hear from them, we do not know what their expectations are. I've been visible in the campus. In Columbia College, I had a running club. In that running club, there were students who would always outrun me, but I would huff and puff and go and run with them. That's a time that they're seeing, the students are seeing college president in their shorts and tees, running with them, and after the run, maybe going out for a burger, maybe a beer if they have their driver's license and their appropriate age. That is where they could just talk to me appropriately. In MJC, we did a similar thing. I would go to each of the football games from a cricket playing country. I don't understand football. But when everybody would say, go Pirates, I'll say, go Pirates. Again, those are the areas that the students would come up and they can see their president. This is their president, or in this case, if I'm your chancellor, their chancellor. Again, not in his ivory tower, not in his suit and tie, but as a normal human being. We also need to do some amount of in loco parentis. That is, we're their local guardian. Talk to them in their own terms. Now, when we did that, you talked about only mental illness issues. It is not just mental illness, but the areas that are very challenging for our students are food insecurity, housing insecurity, and mental health and transportation. And each of these are such a big detriment that unless we can solve this, there's no point in saying students need to come to the college. Now, we cannot resolve all of these alone. So the approach that we took in order to build more of for the homeless students, we partnered with Lutheran Church, and saying that if you have some of the homeless places that we can house our students, can we put our students out there? So that was an approach that we took in building partnerships with the local philanthropic organizations to create opportunity for our students. For the transportation, we had a contract with the bus companies that our students on production of a student ID card, they could ride for free. We had something called a free lunch on Wednesdays in MJC, Flow. We doubled that budget during my presidency because during COVID, you know how the students were constrained and they just could not afford to have the food out there. And students would see me as a representative out there. Mental health, our mental health institutions in the local area, they do not have enough capacity. So I specifically partnered with them on two ways. One is, can we have some non-credit courses to train our human services folks so that they can have a better employed force? And once we talked about their language and said that we are going to help them in building capacity for their own mental health support system, they were also willing to come to us and say, what can we do for you? So it was a win-win partnership and collaboration that we have to do by looking at what are the resources in the county and how we can drop into the resources of the county and then advance our students' interest. There are multiple resources in the county. I'm not saying there is enough. There is not enough resources for homelessness or food insecurity or shelter or mental health in any of the communities here. But we cannot solve this alone. We have to do this with the approach of triaging with the local institutions and then advancing our opportunity for the students.
Thank you. Can you take the last 3 minutes and give us a closing statement before we finish?
Of course. First of all, thank you for being here, for listening to me. I got to know a little bit more about me, where I come from. 24 years back, when I came to this country as a first-generation immigrant, I had 6 suitcases, I had $6,000 in my pocket. I was married for 6 days. I came here on the 6th day of the 6th month, that's 6th of June. Yeah, my wedding anniversary happens to be tomorrow, as I was telling you. That's 6 days wedding. I'm still married to the same lady. When I came here, I came from Bombay to Atlanta, Georgia. And then from Atlanta, Georgia, I was supposed to go to Athens, Ohio. There, after about 20 hours of flying time, kind of zoned out. I see there are 2 flights leaving, one for Athens, Georgia, and one for Athens, Ohio. And we both checked our paperwork to say, are we supposed to go to Athens, Georgia or Athens, Ohio? When I landed in this country, my first experience, I remember, just seemed like everybody drives on the wrong side of the road. I could not understand I still have an accent, but at that time, the Southeast Appalachian accent, that was very difficult for me to follow. My son still speaks the Southeast Appalachian accent English. I don't call that English because we were in a British colony for the longest time. So our accents are different. I never thought that I would be standing here in front of you, aspiring to be a chancellor of one of the best college districts in California. I'm here only because of public education. If I did not get the opportunity of having the public education at Ohio University, both my master's and PhD, because I was working there, I did not have to pay any fees. My wife was working there. She also did a master's degree out there, and none of us paid any fees. We just kind of jokingly say our degrees are cheap. It did not cost us anything. But it is the public education that has brought me and us in this position. I call it paying forward. If I can do something where I can change the lives of our students in collaboration with all of you, with all the knowledge that I have gained along this journey, that would be the biggest satisfaction at this point of time. Financially, yes, we all pay the bills. I would be paying the bills whether this job or not. That's not the issue that I'm looking at. What I'm looking at is how collaboratively we can bring changes in our communities in the positive direction. We can impact the lives, and we can leave our students in a better place than they're coming to us. We give them hope. Let's fulfill the hopes. If I can get that opportunity, that will be great. Look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bandopathy. Thank you for your thoughtful responses. Thank you, audience, for being with us, and thank you, YouTube audience, for being with us as well. Our next forum is at 10 o'clock, so the screen's going to go dark for you out in YouTube land, but just stay tuned, and we'll be right back at 10 o'clock with you. And so with that, thank you so much, and
I'm dismissed.
You're dismissed.
Thank you, Dr. Duran.
Thank you.
Let me shake your hand.
Hello all, welcome back. And welcome back to those of you who are joining us on live stream through YouTube. We're ready to start our next forum and wanted to again introduce myself. I'm Benjamin Duran. I'm one of the facilitators, or I'm sorry, I will be the facilitator today, but I'm also a member of the consulting team from PPL Incorporated that has been assisting with the search along with my colleague, Dr. Jim Riggs, over to the left. So a brief biography for each candidate has been part of the announcement of the forums. You may also access these bios at the district website homepage by clicking on Chancellor's search website finalists. Each of today's forums will be 45 minutes in length. We will begin with the finalists responding to 2 introductory questions, and which should take no longer than 10 minutes or so to answer. We will then follow with questions I will ask developed from questions submitted by district employees and members of the community they serve. To conclude, the candidates will spend the final 3 to 5 minutes providing a closing statement. You hopefully will recognize, if you've submitted questions, you will recognize them. A few of them we had to weave into different questions to make sure that we try to get as many in as we possibly can. So let's begin. Our next candidate is Dr. Carla Tweed. And Dr. Tweed, thank you for coming and joining us as we proceed with the selection process. I will launch our forum with 2 instructional or introductory questions. Please take about 10 minutes or so to answer them if you'd like, in the order in which they are asked. And then after that, I'll ask you other questions as well. Okay? So, given the qualifications and characteristics we seek in our next chancellor, as well as the current institutional strengths and challenges we face, would you please briefly describe, or not briefly, take your time, describe your background and how that suggests propensity for success in this critical leadership position?
Okay, thank you. First, thank you so much for coming today, those of you in World Wide Web and here. And I want to thank the search committee that took the time to bring me forward. I have to tell you, it is a humbling experience to stand before you today going for a chancellor position. When I was in high school, I was not told I was supposed to go to college. In fact, I was encouraged to do work experience. That was what was provided for me. They said, go to work, you can get out at noon. Teenager in high school, yay, I'm getting out at noon, I can go to work. And so that's what I did. It wasn't until I became a single mom that I decided I wanted something a little bit better for my child. And I thought, okay, what am I supposed to do? And you know, there's something in the back of my mind saying, go back to school. Everybody says, go back to school, go back to school. So I did. And I went to West Hills. I'm a West Hills alum. And you know, the tagline that we have, once you go here, you can go anywhere. It's true. It started my trajectory into what I wanted to do when I grew up. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But with that being said, it started my educational path. And once I started, I never stopped. I took breaks, life happens, but I got my bachelor's degree in social science. I got my master's degree in education, curriculum, and instruction. And then I went back and got my doctorate, and my doctorate's in educational leadership. With all of that and life happening, I started teaching and I fell in love. It was my passion. It was my way to give back. And then I became a dean, and then I became an associate dean, and then I became a vice president, an executive vice president, and a president. And I've done this both in the private sector. I've served as a president, and I'm the president here at Kalinga College. It has probably been the best job that I've had is here and the communities that we serve, because I feel like I was able to come back and give back to the community that loved me. I was born and raised in Hanford. So I know the Central Valley. I understand the people we serve, the students that we serve. And I went away for about 10 years. My husband had a job opportunity and we went up north. And then when this job came open, I was like, honey, we're going back. And he smiled and he was like, I knew you were going to take me back there. And I was like, absolutely. My family's still here. I have grandkids here. My roots are here. And what we do here is important and it matters. And that's why I want to be the chancellor here. And I think all of those experience set me up to do just that and be able to continue the good work that we do here.
Thank you. So, thank you. So then after your first 6 months, how would you evaluate your effectiveness as our new chancellor? Given what you set out to do in the initial 6 months, 6 months later, you look back, how do you evaluate how effective you've been?
So 6 months flies. I call them dog years here. You guys have heard me say that. 1 year's like 7 years here, so it just flies by. 6 months, I don't think is a lot of time, but I do know that, I'm known on the Coalinga campus, but Lemoore campus has a culture. The district has a culture. And I think a lot of what I need to do is listening, finding out, what is that culture at the district campus? What is the culture on Lemoore, and how can I provide leadership to my presidents? Because I need to be able to empower them to do the work. My job is to empower them, to help them, to facilitate, and then also looking at student success and looking at the data. The data is the biggest thing. We have our strategic goals in 6 months. How are we doing? Are we measuring them? What does that look like? Are we financially stable? Are we, look at that data. Are we using our funding sources correctly? Are we partnering with each other? Are we partnering with the community? And then also being able to measure what it is our students are doing and where is their voice? Is there student satisfaction? Are they meeting their goals? I think that's fundamental, and really looking at the base of that in 6 months to see, okay, where are we at? What are we doing? What do we need to do to course correct, come back and continue to push the envelope for our students?
Thank you.
It's weird, the screen right here with me.
Yeah.
I keep going forward so I don't see me.
There you can do that as well. If you cross that line right there, you get zapped.
I get zapped,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Miguel is doing that, not me. I wouldn't do that to you. So feel free to roam as long as you don't get zapped.
Okay.
West Hills is located in a region of California that is unique. Please tell us how you feel you can, as chancellor, market what the district has to offer to agribusiness, industry, and other employers in the area to develop mutually beneficial relationships, which ultimately put our West Hills Community College District students to work.
I think first and foremost, it's the relationships that we build and the relationships that I build. I think I'm pretty good at relationship building, and being able to continue to build those at the state level, at Washington. What does that look like so they know what our needs are here? Our needs are unique. We're 70% Hispanic serving institution. It's being able to go out and market that and look at our students and get them what they need. I think our biggest barrier here is language. And we've talked about that, and going to the schools, going to the businesses, whatever that looks like for language, and creating first the language and then the pathway into the classroom. Because the language is the barrier first, then we get them into the classes and get them college credit. And I am a wholehearted proponent believer in education. Education changes lives. It changed my life. And that's what I want for our students. I want opportunities and choices. I waited tables and bartended for the first, can't even say half of my life anymore because I'm getting older. So the beginning of my lifetime, I did that type of work, and there's nothing wrong with it. But education provided me opportunities that I never thought I would have. And I want to give that back to our community. And I think it's important that we do that and build the relationships so that people know who we are out here. When I first landed at Coalinga College, and I say this in all of my interviews that, when I'm interviewing people to come to work for us, this is a special place. The faculty, the staff, and the community believe in our students. They want them to succeed. They do whatever it takes in order to have them be successful. That's what we need to continue to do and build on that and let people know who we are. Like, we will care about you. In fact, I'll care about you until you care enough to care about yourself. I think that's important because a lot of our students are first generation. First, you've got the language barrier. Then you've got first generation who don't believe they can do this. I can tell you when I came back, I was like, oh no, what am I doing here? I was told I was supposed to go to work. I wasn't really told I was supposed to go to school. But somebody believed in me. And they believed in me enough until I believed in myself. And I think we will market that here. We do market that here. And I want to continue to do that and build the partnerships at the state level and let them know our needs are different here, but we're here and we're serving a population that matters.
Thank you. You mentioned in your response this notion of going to the schools and language and placing folks. This is a question that came from the field. So what are your ideas for working with, and what is your experience in working with contract education and community partners to recruit students that ultimately end up hopefully in credit programs?
Sure. I think that we have begun working a lot better with that. We have contract ed here. We do a really good job at that. Now we need to take the contract ed with our outreach people and bring them into the classroom. Who's coming in once they've gone to the contract and they've learned a little bit? Because let's be honest, this is where part of it is. I didn't know I was supposed to go to college. I didn't know I was good at college. Oh, but you took this contract class and you did well. Now what? Let's get you into the credit class. Let's keep you going. Let's get you the associate degree. Let's transfer you out if that's what you want. Let's give you skills if that's what you want. I think that we are also unique in the Central Valley that we have the F3 grant, where this is really going to be able to dive into some of our labor in the fields so that we can take what they already know, give them credit for it, and then give them more, upskill them in their work, but then also let them know college is here for you. I don't know how many people get told college is here for you. You can do this. It's your college. You can learn. Everybody has the ability to learn. It's how you learn. And it's differentiating that and being able to provide that to our students when they need it and how they need it. I think that's the biggest thing that we have learned here. We work around our students' schedules. We ask them, who are you? What do you want to be? What's your purpose? And really try to hone in on that so that we can give them what they need to where they want to go in life. So I think that really just building the partnership and doing what we already do here and building on that and collaborating and not having the silos, but just actually bringing it together and building on contract, our businesses, bringing our businesses in and just building the relationships so that our students can be successful. That's the bottom line. That's where I'm always going to go. It's about our students and our student needs to get them what they need.
Thank you. So given recent reductions in enrollment at California community colleges, a lot of it due to the pandemic, and the impact that it's had on the colleges' budgets, what strategies would you think of employing to work with our two colleges to rebuild enrollment while maintaining course schedules and student services?
I think both colleges have really hit the ground running on this, and both colleges have learned to differentiate our instruction. We learned from the pandemic that we can do this online, and we can have good quality education online. I think that's one of the biggest things too is, we've done all the professional development for our faculty so that they can learn how to use the technology and learn how to be better educators online, not just in the classroom. I think that, we've talked about contract ed. What about non-credit? I know that Coalinga College has built a lot of the CTEs into non-credit now because this also provides an opportunity for our undocumented students or our students that don't have the financial means to come to school, but they can now because non-credit is free for them and they can come and learn. And then it's building on that. It's building on the successes. It just takes a little bit for somebody to say, okay, I can do this and continue and keep going. I'm not saying that it's the easiest, and I'm not saying that life doesn't happen because we all know it does. We've all been knocked down. It's getting back up and it's getting our students back up so that they continue along those paths. I think that we've looked at hybrid and we've looked at What's some of the other differentiated instruction that we're fantastic at? Because we are. Building the models for good instruction, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's online. You know, we're building open educational resources for our students too, so that they don't have to buy the textbooks when they can't. How many times have we started a class when the student didn't have their financial aid yet and they didn't get the book until 2 weeks in, and now they feel like they're 2 weeks behind, and it's all this struggle. Open educational resources, it's there for them when they get it. We've also changed ways in our financial aid so that they get their financial aid before classes start instead of a week later, because our students need resources. And so it's really being able to look at it and look outside the box. And it's one of the things that the district is amazing at, is we don't look at all the barriers, or I wouldn't say barriers. We do look at the barriers because we try to tear them down, but all of the hurdles, and say, nope, we can't do that because we've never done that. That's not, or, you know, it's always been done this way. We can't do it that way. We don't believe that here in this district. We believe in actually saying, no, we can do this. How? In my leadership, I've always said, how do we get to yes? Sometimes we have to say no, especially when there's rules. I'm a rule follower, you all know that, except for speed limits. Those are just suggestions. But really, how do we tear down we've always done it this way, so that we can think outside of the box and really support our students?
Thank you. So let's talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice. Number of questions have come around. We pulled some together here. Please share your commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and how you plan to integrate these principles into all aspects of district operations.
I think we've already started that path, and I can tell you, for me, this is a passion of mine. I think it was my first semester, maybe it was my second semester here. I did paper clips of privilege. Many of you remember this. It's an activity in our convocation where you add a paper clip if you can see certain things. And this talked about gender, it talked about accessibility, all these different things. And then you could hold up a paper clip at the end. And it showed how much privilege you had by how long your paper clip was. Everybody saw that and recognized it. And it was like, okay, that's a good activity. And then I brought up an article that talked about white privilege. And then everybody was taken back. And you could just kind of feel the room change a little bit with that word. And I'm not sure why, because we all do have privilege. Some of it's white privilege, some of it's, you know, educational privilege. All of those us that are here that are educated, we're privileged to have that education. But it just made me take a pause, and I was like, okay, I'm just assessing the room, and I just asked everybody, I don't care where you are on your path or your journey in diversity, equity, inclusion, but we're going to be on this path together. And I do not have all the answers, but we're going to learn them together. And so some of the things that I have done with this is we created a book club. It was a volunteer book club. Everybody's giggling because we all read the book. But it was a book on how to navigate life. Now, the book actually goes into detail on creating purpose. Not only purpose for yourself, but purpose for your students and learning about your students. So that's one way that I've done it. Another thing that I implemented was Faculty Falcon Fridays. And this was an area for faculty to come together and not wine, just kidding. We didn't have any wine at these meetings. Although I was asked if I could provide that, I could not provide that. But it was an opportunity for us to come together and learn about ourselves, and then talk about our students and learn about our students. We had many activities on pedagogy and many activities on best practices. And my last one, this has been going for about 1.5 years now. It was a pilot that now has been implemented because it's working. The faculty love it. I love it. I know our vice president of instruction loves it. But at one of my last meetings that I got to attend, because I don't think I got to attend the very last one, it was on looking at the data. And the faculty were able to get their own data and disaggregate it. So what they were able to look at was, okay, this is how many females I had in the classroom. This is my retention rate. So I started with this many students. This is how many students I left with. And they were also able to see who was successful by the data. So if they were Hispanic, or if they were Black, or if they were Asian, were they successful in your class? Why or why not? And I'll never forget that one of the tables I went over and I said, can I see your data? Because I want to be respectful, because a lot of times faculty get, not anymore, like our faculty are pretty open to it. And they were like, yeah, no, you can see my data. Here, Carla, why do the girls not like me? And I'm like, I don't know. Why do you think the girls? Well, I don't know. The older ones and the younger ones do, but there's this middle section. So then those are the types of conversations, though, that really come to the forefront of being able to teach and learn, because if you're missing this group, why? What can you do different in your instruction? And or what is this person doing over here? This person over here was like, oh, look, the men of color love me. Okay, what are you doing in your classroom? How do we do that so that we're reaching all of our students? Because our students want to be heard. They have a life. They have differences, and they're bringing them to the table. How can I bring my difference to the table and be able to contribute to my learning instead of just learning the old way and, lecture and take a test? That's not what we do anymore. That's not what our students want anymore. And so, again, I could probably go on and on and on and on about diversity, equity, inclusion, and
You have
access.
plenty of time, so
Okay.
feel free.
We've also done the IDI. Luca Lewis brought that in, and I love it. It's a way to really look at culture, and it's a nice way to look at the differences of people with culture instead of race or any of, white privilege or any of the hot topics that people get a little nervous about. It's just really laying the foundation of where are we in our journey of culture. And so the Chancellor's Exec Cabinet took it. We've done it in our upskills. We've done it. And so our upskills, for those of you that don't know, I know I'm talking to an audience that some people know and some people that don't know. Our upskill is where we take, and it's a year-long institute where we take our faculty, staff, administrators, anybody that wants to do it, they're allowed to come in, and it's a year-long of training of just what our college is. We do the IDI assessment and really upskill them in their jobs, because we know out here on the West Side and in the Central Valley, it's hard to get people and retain people for good quality. And so we want to grow our own. It's not just about our students being successful, it's also our staff and our faculty and our administrators. What more do you want in life? I'm a mentor for a lot of our people on the campus, women specifically, which is, I love that. My dissertation was on women in leadership, specifically male-dominated roles. So I want to give that back too for our faculty and staff to go up into administration, or if they're a staff member, give them the belief and the knowledge that they can go be a faculty, or they can go be a dean, or whatever it is you want to be. It's not just about the students, it's about our faculty and staff too, but it's about the learning of each individual and their uniqueness, no matter what that is. And so that's about equity, that's about inclusion, and that's about access.
Thank you. And related to that, how might you, as Chancellor, bring administration, faculty, and staff who are not quite on board with these initiatives, may not understand them, don't grasp them yet? How would you bring them on board? How would you go about bringing them on board?
Again, I think, back in my journey with Guided Pathways, and we all remember that, and we're still doing it, right? It's Guided Pathways, giving our students what they need when they need it, and it's about guiding them through the path of what classes they need to take so they're not taking all these different classes. But I remember Rob Johnstone, who brought Guided Pathways to us, and in one of his conferences talked about, you're going to have the green lighters. Grab them. Bring them with you immediately. You're going to have the yellow lighters. Those are the ones that are kind of on the fence going, oh, what's this? It's an initiative. Do I want to be a part of this, or is this one going to go away? We have a lot of initiatives in higher education. And then there's the red lighters that just, nope, not doing it. I'm going to wait out this administration because they're not going to stay long. get the green lighters and the yellow lighters and bring them together immediately and just have those conversations and build mentorships among each other. And then the red lighters, they're going to come along eventually. They will, because everybody else is working in the same direction. You know, we have a great ability because we're small. Sometimes it's a curse and sometimes it's a plus. And one of the pluses is we're able to get everybody on board and rowing in the same direction in the same way a lot faster than some of these big institutions. And so I think it's just really building on those who are already in it and taking that a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger as we go, so that there's learning, there's opportunity, there's professional development, there's all of those things that we provide here. I believe wholeheartedly in working with people to get them where they need to be. I don't want anybody to think, oh my goodness, I'm not going to do this. Is she going to get rid of me? Nope. It's cheaper to keep them because they care. I truly believe nobody goes into education if they don't care. And now it's just tapping into what is it you care about so that we can give our students what they need. Again, give our students what they need.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about vision, implementation of vision. So how would you develop a cohesive vision for the entire district while also supporting the unique goals and directions of the individual colleges within the district and still aligning it with the needs and aspirations of our rural communities?
I think, so that's the $1 million question, right? As the chancellor, what is my vision that supports the vision of the colleges too? And I think that my vision is, in the Central Valley, I want us to be #1 in educational attainment. Right now, we're not. In fact, we're probably some of the lowest in the areas that we serve. And I don't know why, because we're good at what we do. Instead of bringing them here, we need to go there. Again, what I've talked about, language and industry and building the partnerships with those that surround us on how we can get educational attainment rate up. And it's not just about the students coming from the high schools, because we're already doing dual enrollment. We're already doing rising scholars. But okay, if we're doing dual enrollment, what about your parents? Why not go to school with your child or vice versa? We need to start looking at some of the adult population and figuring out how to educate them too. Because again, the vision is educational attainment rate and the belief and letting people know they can do this and the why behind it. Really, it's the why behind why do I need an education? Why do I need to go back to school? This gives choices, opportunity. And I know it's hard when you're working and you have kids and you have all of those things. But how can we do that and support you if it's hybrid? Or if we're going to your business? Or, you know, when you're dropping off your kids at the high school, maybe we've got a class over here for you that's close to where you're at, or even at the high school. Maybe they'll give us a room so that we can start the educational process there. We know living out here, it's hard. Transportation is hard. Many of us in the room right now, if we have a tire that goes flat, it's an inconvenience for us. I can't tell you how many others it's detrimental. They do not have the money to fix the tire. They do not have a spare car. They do not have the things that it takes to now get to work and to school and to get the kids where they need to go. So I think that it's really building on the foundation of education and what it actually can provide for our service area, our communities.
Thank you. So staying with the theme, West Hills Community College District campuses and facilities are closely associated with the communities they serve. Most of the individuals who live in these communities love and appreciate the colleges and their students. As Chancellor, what actions will you take to ensure an inclusive and mutually respectful relationship continues between community members, staff, and students at our colleges?
I think, again, it's the foundation of relationships, relationships, relationships. I love our communities. I love that I'm from Hanford. I love that you go to all the baseball games and football games and softball games. I love that I get to be a part of it. I love that our community loves our students. I don't know anywhere else that you get that feeling. I really don't. So I think it's just as the chancellor, I have to continue those relationships, but also support my presidents, my vice presidents, the deans, to also build and foster those relationships. This isn't just a lone soldier's work. It never has been. What did they say? It takes a village, right? And it does. It takes the community. It takes the village. It takes it in Lemoore. It takes it in Riverdale. It takes it in Huron. It takes it in Avenel, Tranquility. All of those communities love their children, love their students, love their families. And so it's being able to build on those relationships, and also the business partners. The business partners in these industries, in these communities are amazing. They also want to see support. They also want to see growth and thriving for not only the students, but also just the industry where we're at. So I think as the chancellor, it's continuing to build those relationships. But then I also have to build those relationships in Sacramento. I also need to build those relationships in Washington. And I think I'm really good at building those relationships. And I will continue to build those relationships. And I will pound on the walls and the tables to let everybody know we exist out here and the reason why we exist out here. You know, we've talked about, enrollment, low enrollment, and what that means. And when I landed at Kalinga College, I remember people were like, oh, Lemoore gets everything. And I'm like, no, hold on. And I remember saying this to my team and everybody else. Lemoore's success is our success. We are a team. If they're bringing in the FTEs, we are all garnering from that so that we can serve the outer areas of where we're at. I think the whole district has to be successful. Not just one college, not the other college. It's the whole district has to be successful and build the relationships in the communities that we serve. And again, as the chancellor, state and Washington.
Thank you. So regional educational collaboration is important to the highlighting and leveraging of programs and supports leading to student success in the district. What is your experience in actively working with regional K-12 districts, universities, educational collaboratives for the purpose of creating a high priority role for our students and moving them on?
So I think that our region is special in this. And Dr. Duran, I think you know this with CV Heck, because you might have a part in that, of really bringing everybody together and having those conversations, with the UCs, with the states, with the private colleges, and the community colleges, but also the high school partnerships. We have amazing high school partnerships. We've built on our dual enrollment, but not only that, up in Fireball, we've done a thing that, and I'm going to give Bethany credit for it because she coined the term crayons to college, because we're bringing our elementary school students onto the campus and showing them, hey, this can be your college. We have faculty setting up demonstrations so that the students can play with, the skeletons and the modules and the balls and all the things to get them excited and let them know at a young age, elementary, that college is where I can go. I think it's important to plant the seed with our littles. Yes, I call them littles, and I love our littles. And they walk around our campus all the time in our early education schools to let them know college is for them. It's not the end in high school. College is for you. You come to this college, and building those partnerships from a young age in elementary to the high schools, to the college, to then the other institutions. Where do you want to go? In my previous institution, when I was at Yuba College, we had Sac State come to the college because, again, transportation was an issue out there. Regionally, it's just like us. We had Sac State come to our campus, and one of our instructors facilitated while they were online. Recently in Fireball 2, we signed memorandum of understanding for Fresno Pacific to do the same thing so our students don't have to drive. They can get their bachelor's degree on our campus in Fireball. So it's really being able to bridge those elements of what our students need and the partnerships so that they can get there seamlessly.
Thank you. Let's switch a little bit to students now. So what are your thoughts on ensuring that student voices are heard in both the shared governance process and on the campuses as a whole? How do you go about fostering that sort of an environment?
Again, I think that is foundational to who we are and every person on our campuses. Lemoore, Kalinga, Fireball, it doesn't matter. We really do care about our students and the student voice. And I meet with our Associated Student Body President once a month, if not more, if they need me, if they want to have a conversation just about their needs, about what they're seeing on the campus, what they want on the campus. We also have them serve on all of our governance committees because it is foundational to hear what they're experiencing. We all think we know better than our students, right? But they'll tell us and they'll let us know when we're doing it right and when we're doing it wrong. But it matters. We need to hear from them. We need to know what it is that they're dealing with and or that they want so that they can be successful. I love talking to our students. I love going to our games. I love being able to go out there and cheer them on and root them on. So student voice is paramount to what we do so that we can be successful, so that they can be successful.
Thank you. So this question also came from the field, and it has to do with, given the growing concerns about student mental health, what initiatives or approaches would you use to support mental health well-being, support the mental well-being of students on our campuses to ensure that they have access to necessary resources? And you can expand your response if you want to talk about other aspects beyond mental health.
I think mental health is a big one. We're hearing it, we're seeing it, especially since the pandemic. And being out on the west side, it's really hard for us to have mental health out here. Lemoore's campus is a little bit unique in that they're able to have mental health professionals come onto their campus because it's close to them. Out here, not so much. So we do have online mental health that students can go to whenever they need it immediately. But then again, we also have bandwidth issues out here and connectivity. So what we have done is we've brought in a mental health professional one day a week on Wednesdays that students can sign up and actually see an in-live person and if they need it. But we also do have the timely care for our students. If they need it, they can go online and get the support that they need. I know that all of our faculty and our staff have been trained to go online and ask for support if they need it from our counselors. Our counselors are trained. We have a BAT team so that they can come together immediately if a student's in need to help support them in whatever it is they're going through. I know that I am a huge proponent when I talk to people, when I talk to my staff and faculty, it's not just our students, but it's also our faculty and staff. We have resources available. Go talk to somebody. Sometimes we just need somebody to talk to. And mental health provides that for all of us. And students, I'm telling you, I don't think I would want to live in the world with technology and being videoed for everything you do, every moment of your life, and then being judged on it. And maybe they don't feel that because it's their norm, but looking back on it, it's like, wow, I'm pretty glad that I was not videoed with some of the things that, we did when we were younger. Oh yeah, see, I got a couple laughs on that one. But I think that mental health is definitely something that we have to continue to look at and support for our students and our staff.
Thank you. We're getting close to the end here, so I'm just going to ask you this one question, and then we'll get into a closing statement, okay?
Okay.
So we've got about 7 or 8 minutes. So please describe your leadership style and how you plan to foster professional growth among your administrators, your faculty, and your staff.
I'll start with my leadership style. It's dependent, but for the most part, it is definitely collaborative and supportive. What do you need? And how can we collaborate? It is not just my way. I want to listen. I can't tell you many a times in my executive team, it's like, okay, these don't have to be nice conversations. Let's have the hard conversations. Tell me if I'm going to step in it, or if we're going to step in it, or if we're going to be successful. We all want the same thing. We all want the same thing for our students. We want to be successful. We want our students to be successful. So really, my leadership style is collaborative and supportive for what you need so that you're successful, so that our students are successful. And then the second part of that question was
The professional,
Professional
how do you
development.
foster professional growth among them? How do you foster
Okay.
professional growth?
I'm sure that many of those in the audience that know me know I can't stand professional development. I actually love it. It is one of the things that I'm passionate about. It fills my cup. It fills my cup for me to get it, and it also fills my cup to give it. I love watching learning. When I was in the classroom, I got to see it with students every day. You know, going up the chain of the ladder, I got removed a little bit from seeing that light bulb go off. But I get to see it in my staff and my faculty when I provide the professional development for them that they need. Sending them a link of, hey, have you seen this? What do you think about it? And them going, oh, that's fantastic. And having the conversation afterwards. But also just creating the environment and the safe space that we don't have to know everything, but we can learn it together and get better together. And so that's the environment of the professional development that I like to give whoever's around me. And again, if I need it, I love professional development. I'm never going to stop learning, ever. Y'all have seen many of my Audible books that I listen to on the daily. We won't talk about the other ones that are, the murder mystery ones, but really the professional development ones on how do I be a better leader? How do I support my staff? How do I support my faculty? So that is the environment as the chancellor that I want to continue. And we've already started it, but also continue that and build on who we are as a team so that we can foster that learning for us and for our students. Love professional development.
Thank you. And in the 4 minutes that we have left, why
4
don't you
minutes.
give us a closing statement and we'll be done.
Okay. Dr. Duran, thank you. Thank you all so much for allowing me to be here and talk to you a little bit about my life, my passions, who I am as a leader, who I would be as your chancellor. And once you go here, you can go anywhere. It's on the back wall, and it's the truth. Life happens to all of us. Life has happened to me on many occasions. Many of you know a lot more about me than just the brief that I've told you. I believe education changes lives. I will continue to believe that, and it is my passion for us to serve the communities that we are in and make sure that they can get the education if they so choose, so that they can do whatever they want in their life. If you find your passion, they say you never work a day in your life. Not so sure, because I work hard. But I love what I do, and I love working hard for our students and for you. So with that, just thank you so much for the opportunity. I can tell you, when I was a little girl, I never thought that I would be here, and it is my pleasure to be doing the work that I'm doing. And thank you all so much. And
Dr. Tweed, thank you so much. And join us. We're through. And so the next one will be at what time? Last time I said 10 o'clock and they corrected me on my way out. Thank them. The next one will be at 12 o'clock. Those of you who are watching us on YouTube, stay tuned, and we'll be back at 12 o'clock. And the rest of us, let's be in our seats by noon, and we'll get started. Thank you.
Why did you guys all quiet down? We're going to get started already, so. Do I have to look at myself?
They've been doing really well.
They've been.
We had to throw 2 or 3 of them out there.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh,
I've handled more.
Probably didn't know about that. And welcome to our last forum of the day today. We're delighted that the audience is here. Oh,
Can I use mine?
I'm glad my mic isn't on. Because what I was saying earlier would have offended the people out at YouTube. No. But anyway, thank you all. This is the last forum of the day. And we are happy to welcome Dr. Robert Pimentel to us today. I am Benjamin Duran. I'm one of the PPL facilitators who has been helping the district along with my colleague, Dr. Jim Riggs, in the search for the next chancellor. So the way we're going to proceed today, it's a 45-minute forum, and I'm going to ask you a couple of introductory questions, and then I'm going to ask you some questions after that, and then we'll go from there. So let's get started. Let me get this to the right place here. So, given the qualifications and characteristics we seek in our next chancellor, as well as the current institutional strengths and challenges we face, would you please briefly describe your background and how that suggests propensity for success in this critical leadership position?
Good. I answered that question already the last. Well, everyone, first of all, thank you for having me in front of you and speaking to you about my qualifications and why I feel that I'm best suited to be your chancellor, your next chancellor. For those of you that remember me, a lot of you have been here for a long time, like I was. I was here for 18 years. I left about 6 years ago, actually almost on the dot. And I started working here October 2000, and I started as a classified professional, and I started at, I would think, probably one of the lower positions. It was an office assistant position. I started here by accident. And when I started working here, I really fell in love with the work, and I started really to, get engaged with students, and that's when I kind of knew that I wanted to follow that pathway. I still didn't think that I was going to stay in, colleges for the rest of my life, and apparently I did. But something that I really enjoy is I really enjoyed being here. I really enjoyed this district. I grew up here. I was born in Fresno, and my parents moved to Huron, and I lived there until I was 19, and then I moved to Kalinga because I was working here. So I know the area very well. I was able to do a variety of positions when I was here. I started as an office assistant. I became a job coach. I did some case management, some advising. When you work at a small college, you wear a variety of hats, and you have to do so many different things. So I was lucky enough to be able to learn how to do so many different things, and I moved on. And then I became a director. I went into administration, to the dark side, as some of you may call it. And I started, becoming more involved with instructional programs and student services. I then became an associate dean over at Kalinga College, what you call it Kalinga College now. It was West Coast Kalinga at the time. And I worked with the NDC Center, helped plan that whole center out when it was in the planning stages. But we did have courses out there, so I'm very familiar with the area. And some of the strengths of the colleges is that it's always been a very good place to work for, a very good place for students to be at. I never heard anything really bad about the faculty. The faculty here come here, they stay here, they want to be here. A lot of you that are teaching have been here for a very long time, and I think that's a testament to how the district treats you and some of the things that we do out here, some of the innovative things that have been happening here. On the downside, it is a smaller district, so with the harsh economic times, we have to deal with budget issues and things like that. So right now, I am at Fresno City College. I'm the president at Fresno City College, the largest college of the region. I serve. When it's a good year, over 30,000 students. On a bad year, like we are right now, about 26,000 students. So I manage a huge amount of money, which is about $170 million budgets, when you start adding the grants and stuff like that. So I think I'm well suited to be able to manage you through any harsh economic times, if that was to happen. We still don't know. The governor hasn't really told us how that budget's going to look or what that looks like right now. But I think I'm positioned well because I know the district so well and I know what we can do with the amount of people that we have. So I don't know if I answered the question, but I tried. There you go.
You did okay. No, I'm just kidding. So let's say that you've been here 6 months as chancellor.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to go about determining how are you going to evaluate your effectiveness after 6 months of being here?
Well, I would expect that you all would be evaluating, my effectiveness while you're out in the community and talking to people, right? The chancellor is not the president of the colleges. It's a completely different role, and so the chancellor needs to be at the state level, national level, looking for funding sources, looking for things to bring back to the district. Also providing the support systems that the presidents require to be successful. But I also, I know that the chancellor, especially out here, we're responsible. I would be responsible for looking for different ways to bring scholarship money and funding sources and things like that. So, I think you could evaluate, some of the things that I would be doing by going out to community members, talking to community members, and learning from them what I've been doing. How many times I've met with them. How many times I've met with each of the different constituency groups on the campuses. I right now I do hours with the classified professionals. I talk to the faculty, and I'd really like to stay in touch with what's happening at the campus. And the most important thing that I do is talk to students. We're here for students at the end of the day. So I think, of course, it's a little bit different as a chancellor. You're not on the campuses, but I think it's still important to be out and talk to students regardless. Now, I don't see a lot of chancellors going out and meeting with students all the time. But if I was chancellor, I think I would try as much as I could to take some time and go and meet with students and try to see if we're meeting their needs and meeting the needs of the community. Going out, we have a farm of the future here at West Hills, Kalinga College. And really going out to meet with farmers and seeing, are we meeting your needs? Are we meeting your demands? We're here to prepare the future workforce for the region. And because of that, we have to be well in touch with our industry partners. So meeting with industry partners, making sure that they know that we're here to serve them and, through advisory meetings and all the things that the campuses do. But as a chancellor, also making sure that I'm providing those resources back to the campus. I would say, I'm a researcher, so I would say providing surveys, but I don't think that surveys work very well for something like that. Especially anonymous surveys, people tend to just say whatever they want on anonymous surveys. But, you could also do things like that, evaluate the performance of somebody through a survey.
Yeah, I was going to ask this question a little bit later, but since you mentioned it in your response, tell us how you propose to ensure that the student voice is heard, in the colleges, in the district. How do you go about doing that? And that includes both shared governance and then just students at large who need their voices heard. How might you go about doing that?
When I moved to Fresno, City, that was a big difference that I saw. When I was here, we had a really hard time finding students that would participate in our committee work. Understandably, you can't really get students to take time out of their busy schedule from classes and work and all of the things that they're doing in their personal lives to come and be a part of your committees. I took that with me, and when I got to Fresno City College, it was a lot different because there we have a really active associate student government. And one of the things that I don't like doing is having students do things for free. And so when I got there, I started working with the president to change the policy so that we could start paying students to participate in our committee work. So we did just that. We changed the policy, we started paying students, and now students don't just show up to meetings, they're actually getting paid to do that. They're employees, when they're doing it. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but let me tell you, they show up because they're getting paid. So it kind of, that's their job now. So I could go to the student government and tell them, I need you to participate in College Council or one of these other committees. And they don't mind doing it because they know they're going to be getting hours to do that and they're going to be getting paid. Now, is that the best model? I don't know. but that's the best way that I could get our students to participate at our campus. And I think that goes without saying, for me, how I treat students. I'm here for students at the end of the day. And as a college president, if you asked anybody on my campus, they would tell you that I'm about student success. I want to make sure that our students are taken care of. I go out, I have 23 athletic teams right now. I go and practice with at least half of them throughout the season. I just go show up and trying to hit a softball from one of those pitchers. Let me tell you, it's been super interesting to me. I never played softball before. So, I tried to hit one of those balls and I was like, oh, wow, you could really pitch. These young men that are wrestling, I'm a wrestler, but I'm 45 years old. So I can't keep up with them anymore. But I do go out there because I want them to see me as just one of them. I want them to be able to see me out at the college, on campus, and just walking around, and they come up to me and talk to me, because otherwise you're seen as this person that nobody could talk to you, and that's not what I want. The classified feel the same way. I go into their events, I hang out with them, I take them to dinner sometimes. You got to do things like that with people so that they could feel closer to you and they are able to express how they feel. And I think I've gotten a lot of students to come and tell me things that they would have never told anyone if they wouldn't feel that comfortable with me. So there you go.
Thank you. So a little bit about marketing the area here, the district. West Hills is located in a region of California that is unique. Please tell us how you feel you can, as Chancellor, market what the district has to offer to agribusiness, industry, other employers in the areas, to develop mutually beneficial relationships and ultimately put our students to work.
That's a good question, and I'm sure our marketing department here was the one that came up with it. So thank you. One of the things that happened to me when I went to Fresno, I immediately started connecting with the Hispanic media, and that was so important. And I didn't really know that this was something that was needed there. I went and I started talking to Univision, and I speak Spanish, so they were like, "We haven't had a president that spoke Spanish in so long." So we're able to make commercials and bring you onto the station and do all these different stories with you. And then it started bringing the Hispanic community to campus, not just the students, because we serve 55% of our students, but the parents. And that was really, really important. And at the time, I will admit, I did not know it was something that was needed or something that was that important. So when I started doing that, I started seeing a lot of, we started getting attention from a lot of the Spanish media. In this community, it's really important. I still come, believe it or not, I still come to Fireball, to Mendota, to San Joaquin, and I do workshops for them from Fresno, but I promote West Hills because I can't come promote myself here because I'm Fresno City College and this is not my service area. So I have called Carla, I've called Kristen many times, and to tell them, I'm gonna be in Mendota doing a presentation. Don't worry, I'm not gonna talk about Fresno City. I don't need students, I have 30,000 of them. You need students, so I'll send them over to you. But it's super important to be out in these communities. I go to Lemoore, I go to Carruthers, I go to Layton, and the reason I do that is because I want to stay connected to our communities. Yeah, I may be gone, I may be working at Fresno City College, but I still come here 4 days a week. I have a gym here and I train here 4 days a week, so I'm here in Coalinga at least 3 to 4 days a week. I'm still well connected with business owners, I'm well connected with the community here, and I want to continue to do that. It's really important. But let me get back to your question because I don't think I answered it. In order for us to be able to market to our industry partners what our students have to offer, we have to bring them to the campus and we have to show them what we're doing. Otherwise, they'll never know what we're doing. You'll be surprised the amount of things. And now, I used to get mad when I used to work here because manufacturers are notorious for telling you, oh, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. And then you do it, you change the curriculum, and they don't hire them. And it's just like, God, what am I going to do in order for you to hire our students? Because we're here to train the future workforce, give them internships. So our job is to really build internships, build work experience opportunities for our students to start getting to know the industry partners. Because at the end of the day, it's about who you know, not what you know, not always anyway. So there you go. I hope I answered.
Yeah, and thank you. And related to that, let me just ask you this then. So what is your experience, or what would be your approach with contract education and working with community partners to recruit students into contract ed and then ultimately get them involved in credit programs so that they can go to that next level and perhaps pursue a higher education?
A lot of times when you have contract education, you see it as something separate from the colleges. It's almost like its own little school. And here, I don't know if this, David, if it's still Westside Institute of Technology, but when I was here, we had the Westside Institute of Technology, and we ran all of our non-credit, not credit programs through there. But that is a way to attract students to come and try something out. And that's what we used to do as well, to try to engage with students that would not traditionally come to college. For us, it was a way to bring them into the credit programs. And so you start with something very simple as a 1-month manufacturing class, for example. You get them hooked, you bring them in, and then you introduce them to the for credit programs. That sometimes works. It doesn't always work, but, for example, we had a truck driving program at the time. And right before I left, we were building a truck driving program here. So that program was supposed to feed into that. And I don't know if it's not, if it isn't, I don't need to know. But that kind of is the plan, is to really bring things in through non-credit that opens up the doors for students. And it's usually free of cost, because we usually run it through a grant. And that introduces students to the for credit world. And then you start hooking them for them to stick to a certificate program or a degree program, which at the end of the day is what we want. We want them to be here, earn a certificate, earn a degree, to earn higher wages, because my goal is for all of our students to make more money than, when they leave us, than when they get to us. So
Thank you. So a little bit of a shift, but so given recent reductions in enrollment, you talked about having been at 30,000 now, it's down to 26,000. Given recent reductions of enrollment in California community colleges, especially in rural areas, and the impact that it has on college budgets, what strategies would you think you could employ to work with the two colleges to rebuild enrollments while maintaining course schedules and student services?
So again, the chancellor's job is to make sure that the campuses have the resources they need to do what they need to do. But the campuses have to be doing their part, and they have to be out in the communities. One of the things that I changed when I got to Fresno City College was I grew my outreach team, because when I got there, the pandemic hit, we were, enrollment declined. We lost I think close to 5,000 FTS. In the world of money, that is a lot of money, So, we started going into to enrollment recovery immediately right when we came back to campus. And the first thing I did, I added 2 full-time counselors to my outreach team. My counselors are not allowed to be on campus. They have to be at the high schools. And I tell them, the director, why are they on campus when the kids are at the high schools? And so we send them out almost every single day. They're out at a different high school. Now, I serve 39 high schools, so it's a little different out here. You have just in the rural areas, by the time you get there, it takes an hour to drive everywhere. So you could go to a high school once a week. Now, you have to do that. You can't expect the students to come to you. You have to go out to them. Similar to adult education, you have to build programs where you're able to either rent a space or work with the local districts so that they could let you borrow some classroom space, and then you create programs for the students out there. Not here, because the lack of transportation, childcare, and so many different issues so many different barriers that our students have, we have to try to address those ahead of time. That's us creating an equitable educational space for our students. For me, is really providing the campuses with the resources that they need in order to be successful in capturing enrollment. And again, if they need counselors, if they need funding for those things, we have to have those discussions, because I don't know where your budget's at or any of that. But if the current workforce that's there doesn't meet that demand, then we have to make sure that we provide those services, those necessary resources, so that they could go out and start looking for the students, because we can't wait for them to come to us. We have to come to them.
Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice, accessibility. A number of questions around this topic came up. So, and you referenced going out to the Spanish-speaking community, but please share your commitment to diversity and equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And how do you plan to integrate these principles into all aspects and all groups in the district operations?
So when I was vice president at Fresno City College, when I left here and I got there, one of the first things that I was tasked by my boss to do was to create a new mission statement, vision statement. So do strategic planning. It was time for that, and I was the head campus researcher, and I had to do all the planning for the campus. So I didn't know how it was to be at a big campus, and I learned really quickly that you can't do things quickly. So it took me a whole year to start planning and really getting things through the process. Now, my goal was to really build a mission statement that really captured the essence of what was happening at our campus. And that was a huge push for anti-racism, a huge push for equity and inclusion for all of our students. Depending on where you're at and how politicized those words are, it's sometimes difficult to do the work, and I get that. I'm in Fresno. Fresno is not always the friendliest place to do that kind of work, but we had to really come to a point where we made a decision and we were just bold and move forward. I'm not saying that would work out here, because it is different. It's a different space. But we have to try to do what's in the best interest of our students. Using data, you use data to really drive your decisions and to really look at what are your disproportionately impacted populations at your district. In my case, it was at the campus. So we identified, for example, that our men of color were not coming to us and they were not completing. So immediately we started addressing we created goals to address that inequity. We started looking at our African-American students. I lost 50% of our African-American students during the pandemic. That's a lot of students. We were at close to 8%. It was over 50% because by the time the pandemic was over, we were down to 3% of our total enrollment population. That's at least over 50%. So I hired 2 counselors to go out to the high schools, to sit at the high schools and really focus on recruitment and outreach of African-American students. And that was their priority was African-American students. Of course, they would work with anybody that comes to see them, but their priority was to target African-American students. And why that was because the data was showing us that their students were not coming to us, and we didn't know why. We were competing with industry partners. McDonald's across the street was paying $25 an hour at one point. It was incredibly difficult for me to convince a student to come, get in debt, and come to college, or go work for McDonald's for $23 to $25 an hour, and actually make some money. So it was hard for me to make that connection. It was hard for them to make that connection. Like, yeah, the obvious thing is for me to go to work at McDonald's. And so we were competing with a lot of industry partners that in that way during the pandemic, right? And especially right after. So we had to create a mission statement that really aligned to what we were doing. By doing so, we were able to attract different type of faculty. The faculty that apply at Fresno City College now, once they read the mission statement, they know what the campus is about. And if they have no interest in doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work, they don't apply to work there. And that's kind of what I like, because they kind of screen themselves out. They don't want to be at a place, if they have these beliefs that they don't want to do any of this work, they don't want to be at a place where everybody's doing the work, or at least the impression is given that everybody's doing the work. So I do a lot of professional development around diversity, equity, and inclusion right now. I think that's always a good thing to do, but it's always important for us to really capture the learning of the folks and really continue with the work, and don't ease up on the professional development or on the things that we're doing, because it's important for us to push that work forward. We're here for students, and I'm going to keep saying that throughout my presentation, because at the end of the day, we are here for our students. And if there's a population of students that's not doing well, then we need to figure out what we need to do for them so that they could complete, because we're looking bad if our students are not completing, and I want to make sure that we don't look bad.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about vision, about implementation, some of the things that we want to look at. So West Hills Community College District campuses and facilities are closely associated with the communities they serve. Most of the individuals who live in these communities love and appreciate the colleges and their students. As Chancellor, what actions will you take to ensure an inclusive and mutually respectful relationship continues between the community members, staff, and students at our colleges?
I'm one of those community members and I want to see this district succeed, whether I'm here or not. As a community member, as being a part of this community, and the majority of my fighters and the people that I work with here in town, I want to see this district succeed, because my kids came to college here. My son just graduated from West Hills Lemoore. I graduated from Kalinga. My daughter graduated from Kalinga. So I have a huge interest in this district being successful, whether I am here or not. So I want to put that out there ahead of time before I move on. Community involvement in anything that you do is important. You know, we just finished our West Fresno Center, the newest campus that I have, and that's the only center at the State Center Community College District. I just finished that, and I opened in the fall of 23. We had 52 community meetings in order to build that center. Now, just keep that in the back of your head. 52 community meetings. That means that students, future students, community leaders, faith leaders, business owners, everybody needed to be involved. For the First Responder Center that we also opened in the fall, we had about 48 meetings. So you have to have community involvement, and that doesn't say that. You know, you have to keep community coming back and really have an understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it. Now, this is just for construction, but anything else that you're doing on campus, I think the community needs to understand what it is that you're doing and why you're moving things forward. If you're building new programs, your advisory committees need to be on campus so that they understand what the curriculum looks like and why are you building these programs. If you're building a program where the kids are not going to go anywhere to go to work, you know, I'll give you an example. We had a big push at one point out here when I was in Kalinga to build a water treatment specialist program that trained water specialists. And we were ready to pull the trigger and start really planning for that. But then we started bringing community leaders, and they told us, well, I have one position. That was the Westlands Water District. Visalia said, I have one position. And then Lamore said, I have one position. And I asked them, like, how long do these people stay when they work for you? They said, like, 30 years. I said, okay, well, shit, 30, I'm going to train 30 people, and they're only going to get 3 positions out of this. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would I build a program for that, right? Let's do it through Davis Shop, and let's do a community ed program, and let's train them that way. So those are, if you don't have community input, then you're going to hurt yourself, you know, especially around construction projects.
Thank you.
I might have said a bad word there, sorry.
No, yeah. We couldn't hear it. We couldn't.
Good. Mute it.
Regional educational collaboration is important to the highlighting and leveraging of programs and supports leading to student success in the district. What is your experience in actively working with, and you've spoken a bit about it, actively working with regional K-12 districts, universities, educational collaboratives for the purpose of setting a huge priority for student success?
I'm going to ask you to repeat that question one more time because I lost you there. Sorry.
Okay. Regional educational collaboration is important to highlighting and leveraging of programs and supports leading to student success in the district, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience in working with the K-12 districts, with universities, and with educational collaboratives to move forward the programs for students to be successful?
Well, a good example of that is working with your organization was Central Valley Higher Education Consortium, you know, where all the community college leaders and the university leaders come together to discuss different issues that are happening throughout the region. And you have the chancellors, the presidents of each of the colleges, including the universities and the privates. So that's a really good space for us to talk, and I participate in those. I've been participating in those for a couple of years now. We have the K-16 Collaborative. It's also another regional effort where we're trying to build dual enrollment programs and really trying to strengthen some of the work that we are doing regionally. But for the partnerships with K-12, that's really important. The chancellor, I think the chancellor and the president should be talking to the superintendents of the different school districts that you're serving, and they need to be a text or a Facebook message away to really get whatever it is that they need. I have all of my superintendents on speed dial. Whenever I need something, whenever they need something, they call me right away. And we normally get things done quickly. There's a lot of things that the staff sometimes don't know that we could do. And so they connect with me and we make things happen. So that's kind of what we do for the K-12 districts. We do a lot of work with dual enrollment. When I got to Fresno City College, we had about 500 students. I've been there 6 years now. We have over 5,300 students now. And that's just because of the relationships that we built. Fresno Unified has so many different high schools and so many different students, almost 65,000 students. And we had 10 or 15 students from them in dual enrollment when I got there. But it was because they really didn't know the difference between AP and, dual enrollment. So we started educating them. I went to their board meetings. I spoke to their board. Then their board got on board. And now the board is telling the superintendent, you need to do this. And so creating those relationships is really important. And now we are at 5,300 students, which is quite a bit of students. I recently signed a transfer agreement with Fresno State. You may think, why sign a transfer agreement with Fresno State when they're your biggest, they take most of my students. But just to strengthen the partnership and make sure that they want all the students to go there. That's not going to happen, but they want all the students to go there. So they come to campus. I give them a couple of weeks where they come and they have counselors there on board, really registering people, registering students, talking to students, doing recruitment on campus. They want to take all of our students because over 70% of our students that transfer graduate. So naturally, it's a good fit for everybody. Before I signed the transfer agreement with UC Merced, we were at 8 students transferring to UC Merced. Now, UC Merced is about 40 minutes away. Now, think about it. It's only 40 minutes away, and only 8 students were going there. UC Davis, they were taking about 30 of our students. I have no idea why that was happening, but that was happening. And sometimes it was 3 students, sometimes it was 5, sometimes it was 8. The most we had ever sent to Merced was 8. So me and the chancellor, we have lunch at least once a quarter, and we were talking about this. And he asked me how many students come to me. And I said, 8. What are we going to do about it? So he gave me money to hire a counselor. We signed an agreement. Now I have a counselor that's dedicated just to UC Merced. We're at 55 students right now that are on their way to UC Merced in the next year or so. So that's a big difference. That's a big difference for students. Our students need to also explore the UCs and, of course, the privates. I have a really good relationship with Fresno Pacific, and I try to have lunch with the different presidents at least once a quarter. That's my goal, is to meet with them twice a semester. I see them at different events, but I sit down one-on-one with them so that we could talk about different barriers to success that our students have, and then together we collaborate to target them. Believe it or not, I also have lunch with the different police chiefs in the area because I think it's important to work with the police departments. I have my own police force, but State Center District has, but our police department calls Fresno PD whenever there's issues on campus. I sit down with a chief, with Chief Valderrama, at least once every 2 months, and we just go to lunch and we talk about different things. I have so much crap happening on my campus all the time. It's really hard for me not to have those relationships with them because the cops are always on my campus. There's always something going on. And it's not always students. So there, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. A little while ago, it's a question I would have asked you now. I asked you about the student voice, et cetera. There was another question that came from the field, and it said, and it was this. It says, given the growing concerns about student mental health, what initiatives or approaches would you use to support mental health, the mental health well-being of students to ensure they have access to necessary resources?
That's a really hard question. And the reason I say it's hard is because it's such a big problem. At my campus right now, I can't even say that we're solving this issue. We have a wait list of 30 days for students to see a mental health counselor. And we have a huge program. I think we have about 7 counselors on staff, that see students just for their mental health. But it's a pandemic almost of its own, so we're trying to figure that out. One of the things that we've done is we partnered with County Mental Health and tried to see how we could work with them. The Fresno County Office of Education recently was awarded a grant, and we're going to try to work with them to try to see how we could make this work a little better. But one of the things that really bugs me about the California Community College system is that, they are expecting us to become a social service provider, and we are just not suited to do that. They don't give us money to do it. They don't give us the resources to do it. How are we supposed to offer food, housing, mental health, and all of these different things? On my campus, I have a clinic for health services. I have mental health services. I have a pantry that serves 1,200 students every day. 1,200 students every single day come through our pantry to get food. And so when you put that burden on the campuses, it is incredibly difficult for us to really do what we do best, and that is educate our population. So I'm not going to say I don't know, but I think the best thing for us to do is to create partnerships with the different organizations that exist in the area, which in this case would be County Mental Health and some of the different providers in the area, and try to work with them and try to see how they could offer the services to our students and how to make them a priority, because we simply can't do everything for our students.
Tell us a bit. You mentioned the food pantry, mental health, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us a bit more about the basic needs, things that you offer and how they came about.
Well, all of these things came. So I'll start with the food pantry. The pantry came to us it was almost like an experimental project. We were going to try it out to see if it worked. Lo and behold, now we're serving 1,200 students every day. We have a really strong partnership with some of the food pantries in Fresno, and they donate food, or they'll sell us food at a very cheap price. And that's how we've been able to maintain. We use our basic needs money to do that kind of work. Our mental health services, we have a relationship with one of the universities that offers a PhD program for psychologists. And so they send interns to us, and we use the interns to provide counseling therapy for our students. They do the initial stages of it, and then they make a referral to County Mental Health, or if they have insurance, to one of their insurance providers. So those are two of the things that we offer. And then, we have a housing. Housing is so that's a very interesting project that we have, and it's we built a really strong relationship with the city of Fresno, but it was off of a grant. And for those of you that have rented houses before, you know that you have to give students so many times. Well, you're not students. You have to give your tenants so much time in order for them to move out. A lot of the students that we serve through our housing program are homeless for a reason. Many of them have had substance issues or mental health issues themselves. So not only are we providing housing, we're also providing mental health issues, and we're providing substance abuse counseling for them as well. So that's become a really interesting program. I don't know how long that program is going to last, because with the current budget situation at the state level, we don't really know if that's going to continue to be funded. So that's another project that we took on. Now, we do have some funding to build a new facility for housing, but we don't know if when we're gonna pull the trigger on that. That's probably gonna be in the next couple of years. We do have the money already set aside to do that, but we haven't created that now. It's not gonna be dorms, because I know Kalinga has dorms, and I don't want to deal with dorms. So it's harder. So it's housing, but we're gonna build affordable housing. That's something that we need, and I think that's something that the district here could potentially benefit from as well in the future if the funding was to become available.
Thank you. We have about 8 minutes or so, 7 minutes to go. So I'm going to ask you this question, and then we'll ask you to do a closing statement. So please describe, as you close out, before we get to your closing statement, please describe your leadership style and how you plan to foster professional growth among your administrators, your faculty, and your staff.
So I encourage professional growth. I like to hire people that are smarter than me so that they could help me do my job, and I don't have to struggle with everything. I don't need to know everything, and that's, at the end of the day, I think a leader that understands that is a leader that really could take a school or whatever it is that they're leading to the next level, because hiring good people is really important. I don't want to know finance. I don't want to know HR. I don't want to be the only researcher doing research. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I want to be able to hire people that will be here that I could develop even if they come here for 5 years and we develop them, they could become president somewhere else or a chancellor somewhere else. Good for them. But we want to be able to build them. If you provide opportunities for people, they will stay. And I think this is a testament of West Hills College. A lot of you have stayed here, even though you've learned to do so many different things. You're still here. And I was here. I was here for 18 years. I had a doctorate, and I was still working here as an associate dean. And I thought, in order for me to grow, I have to leave. And that's the only reason why I leave, because I wanted to grow. But I think my leadership style is very simple. Do your job. Let's serve students, and we'll all be okay. I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our students are getting to that finish line, whether it is employment or going to a transfer university, whatever it is that they want to do. I like to remind my staff and my faculty all the time, we're here for students. If they bring problems to me, I always remind them, how does this affect students? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. So we have to be very, that's our North Star is our students, and we have to make sure that we're serving them.
Thank you. So in the 5 minutes we have left, why don't you make a closing statement, cover anything that we didn't ask you about that you think we should know about you, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, what do I tell you? I took some notes, and I'm trying to see if I covered everything in here. Well, I guess to close out, I just want to share that, I'm at a really good place right now, because I don't need a job. I'm really happy where I'm at. But this is an opportunity for me to come back home. And for me, this is the community that, I grew up in. I went to school here. My kids went to school here. And to serve this community again would be a true honor, and that's the reason why I'm here. It's not because I need a job or because I'm, trying to climb the ladder. I'm here because I'm really interested in serving this community. Like I mentioned before, I come still 3 days a week and I hang out in Kalinga. I don't ask me why, but I come here and I'm in Kalinga and still with, people that I have an MMA gym here and we train here, and I take kids off the streets and we try to build them into better people. And by fighting, believe it or not, fighters make really nice people. Even you might not believe that, but they are. And so I come here and I do that 3 days a week. But I still stay very closely. I have a lot of strong ties to this community. My whole family is here. They live in Huron. They live in Mendota. They live in San Joaquin. I'm very familiar with the district. I know the needs of the district. And I hope that if you are considering somebody that will be here for a very long time, if I do a good job, I would be the person for you, because if I was to be selected to be the next chancellor, I wouldn't plan on going anywhere. This is where I want to be. I have so much experience now. Being a year at Fresno City, I call it the boot camp for leaders at Fresno City College. It's been a really interesting last couple of years as president at the largest institution, the first community college in California. It has its challenges, but it's never a dull moment. I work probably 24 hours a day. There's always something happening. When it rains, everything's flooded, trees are falling, students are doing stuff. It's just way too many things happening at once. But I've learned so much on how to handle emergencies, how to handle construction projects, how to handle people, 1,500 employees. Here we have about 540 employees or something like that. So when you manage a large place like that, you kind of get used to really, how to deal with personalities. And one thing that I have is that I am who I am all the time. I don't think anybody has ever seen me mad. I like to be myself all the time. And for me, it's important to treat people right. So I lead with kindness. And I hope that people that work for me also are kind people, because I think at the end of the day, kindness goes a long way. So I'll leave you with that. I hope that kind leadership is something that is attractive to all of you. I do fire people, don't get me wrong, but very kindly. So, all right.
Thank you, Dr. Pimentel. Thank you. This brings us to the end of our forums today. I want to give a special thanks to Miguel, who did our IT. Miguel, thank you. There aren't any glitches. Becky Cazares, the HR folks who put all this thing together. So I want to thank those individuals. I want to thank those of you who are out on YouTube land watching the forums, and hope you had a good opportunity to see all three of the candidates. And with that, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And the board will be interviewing and making a decision sometime soon. Thank you so much. Robert?